Right, I think for today, this is the setup. A couple of things before we get going. Number one, sorry if you can hear a fan going. It is absolutely boiling still in the UK. We are not built for hot weather. Neither our people nor our buildings are built for hot weather. So I'm gonna have to keep it going. I did try and film this without the fan on and I physically couldn't, so excuse the fan. Also, kind of contrary to that, we've just had the craziest rainstorm. It's still boiling, it's still swelteringly hot, but there was just really heavy rain, and because of the nature of the flat I live in, you might be able to hear the rain if it starts up again. So apologies about that. Also, sorry if the lighting's bad. Last time I filmed at about this time, the sun started going down and I sort of started glowing halfway through the video, so hopefully I'll get this done by the time that happens, but if not, I'm not a professional. So now that that's all been said, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Hannah, I am a historian and I make content about theatre and travel and history and all that good stuff. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around. Do subscribe if you haven't already. If you are a subscriber, hello, welcome back, thanks for coming back. I hope you enjoyed this video as well as probably my Brighton video that made you subscribe. So I have wanted to do another theatre video for a while because I've done quite a lot of vlog type videos recently, which is not something I ever thought I was going to do, but I do really enjoy them. And I don't think there's going to be one this week because I normally film those on weekends and I've got a very family heavy weekend this weekend, and my family are not social media people, they don't do anything like this, so I'm obviously not going to get the camera out. And if I do film anything, it'll just be for me, which is nice. And I might still edit it together, who knows, just a bit of practice. But I thought it would be really nice to talk through today my sort of background in theatre, because I am quite aware that I talk about theatre quite a lot and I've never really spoken about why I like theatre so much or why it's such a big part of my life. So I thought it might just be fun to talk through that. I've got some props as well today. I've got some programmes from some of my favourite shows from the last couple of years. I'm going to talk through them. I'm also going to talk through like what the first shows I saw were. I think I have talked about this very, very briefly in old videos, like from last year. But people probably haven't seen those because I think it was literally like my first or second video. So I'm just going to talk through that and we'll just see how this goes. So for this video, this is going to be my reference guide. This is just a little notebook that I picked up from Paperchase when that was still on the high street, and inside of it is where I keep a track of sort of all of my, can you see anything? There we go. All of my like theatre related notes, like shows I've seen, theatres I've been to. I've got this little alphabet show challenge on the go. Specifically for London, I've got one for touring productions as well. But it's just a really nice way for me to remember everything that I've seen, especially in the last couple of years. My theatre watching has gone up quite significantly, so I really like having somewhere that I've taken sort of notes of where I've been and when. But before I talk about this, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what got me into the theatre in the first place. So I, like many people I think, grew up doing dance classes. So I did ballet, tap, modern and jazz, and then later musical theatre from the age of 3 until the age of, well, I did exams until I was 18 and then kept dancing until I was 21 when I moved here. So through childhood I did like all of the different types of theatre, and then as part of that the dance school that I went to had a musical theatre class that did shows, and there was also an adult amateur dramatic society that we were sort of associated with. So if they ever needed kids to be in a show like Sound of Music or Joseph or something, they'd pull kids from the kids group to go into the adult group. And then as I got older I just started doing shows with the adult group as well. So I come from a very sort of dance heavy background. I stopped doing exams in all of them when I went to university, so when I was 18, and then after university from the age of sort of 20 to, maybe it was later than that, maybe it was like 20 to 23, I kind of forget how old I am. So yeah, I think it was like 20 to 23. I carried on doing tap. So it was just like an adult tap class. It wasn't exams and stuff. It was just like enough to keep me going. And I would still quite like to find another one of them. But I think what I enjoyed most about it was like the people that I knew, because a lot of the girls I was dancing with are girls that I sort of made friends with when I was about 3 years old. So that's how I got into theatre. And obviously growing up in the theatre, and it was like an amateur theatre in the city that I grew up in. I'd go and see a lot of shows from other societies. I was in a lot of musicals, a lot of the big tap musicals like Top Hat, 42nd Street, why am I blanking on tap musicals? Anyway, did a load of them. And as part of that, we would do trips to go to the theatre as well. So I was always going on theatre trips. And yeah, that kind of got me into it. A couple of years ago, I did join an adult like amateur dramatic society to see if I wanted to get back into like doing musical theatre, and I went to one session and it just wasn't for me anymore. And I don't know whether that's just because I really enjoy going to shows now. I didn't want like something I really enjoy to also become like a full-time, it's a pretty full-time hobby. You have to be really committed to be a part of one of these groups, and they're obviously amazing for the people that can do that, but I think my confidence levels have just changed. Ironic, because I'm talking to a camera that I'm then putting on the internet for everyone to see, but there's something very different about acting in a show and doing this when I'm literally just yapping about things that I enjoy. I also did school exams in drama, so I was thinking about this the other day because I work in a museum. I work as an exhibition manager, and my university degree is in history and archaeology, and I did a master's degree in cultural heritage and resource management, so very history focused. But at GCSE level, I don't know what the equivalent is in the States, but the UK, that's like the first set of exams that you do in high school. So at my GCSE level, I didn't take history, I took drama. I took drama and art, and then at A level, I dropped art and I picked up history again. But I did do an A level in drama as well, so I do technically have sort of exam results or grades in drama up until just before higher education. So I've got a weird amount of a theatre background for someone who now has nothing to do with theatre, except in the sense that I spend a hell of a lot of money on tickets and I'm there at least once a month. So that is a background to me and my love of theatre. I will say as well, I'm trying to get theatre to come more into my job as it is, because I am really interested in theatre history and how sort of British history is so closely linked with theatre history, and how theatre became such a big thing in the UK. And we've got some pretty impressive theatre people over here, so just in terms of like theatre writers, I mean the obvious one is like Shakespeare was British, and there's so much interest in history about sort of Stratford-upon-Avon and the RSC and things like that. And then we've got people like Andrew Lloyd Webber as well, who's still doing loads. So the UK's just got a really big theatre scene that is so closely tied with our history that I am forever looking for ways to bring that into my day job. But where I can't do that all the time, I have this channel as my sort of creative theatre loving outlet. So I think the best thing to do would be to look at shows that I've been to see. So my first ever West End show was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the Adelphi, and I think this was where my love of Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals came in, because I had the CD for Joseph and I listened to it so much that it actually broke, so I'm technically on my second Joseph CD. But this was just after the TV show called Any Dream Will Do, where they were looking for a new Joseph and Lee Mead won it, and we went to see Lee Mead in Joseph. That was my first ever professional show. We've tried to think of this. I think it is my first ever professional show, and it was in London. And then the day after that, we saw Wicked at the Apollo Victoria. And I remember us getting, well, I don't remember because I was 7 years old, but we got those tickets for free because I think Wicked had only just opened and they were trying to fill seats. So I was in the front row, right in the centre of Wicked on the West End, just after it opened. So that was like my introduction to theatre, so I think that's quite a big sort of impactful start. There was no way I was not going to like theatre having seen those as like my first two shows. Interestingly, I do remember not liking Wicked. I remember just sort of being completely underwhelmed by it, and was for years, until I saw it again in Bristol at the Bristol Hippodrome, and then I loved it. So I don't know what the problem was the first time. Maybe I was 7, maybe that was the problem. But yeah, that was my first West End experience. I didn't go back to the West End then until 2015 for my 16th birthday, and we saw Matilda at the Cambridge, which is still such a solid show, and it's still on at the moment. That was 10 years ago this year. God, no, 10 years ago last year. Wow, time goes quick. Doesn't feel like 11 years since going to see that. I think I will just run through these just to sort of give a bit of an overview. I have also noticed I haven't updated this to this year either. After seeing Matilda, 2016 I saw Kinky Boots and A Winter's Tale at the Globe. 2018 I saw Hamilton at the Victoria Palace and Heathers at the other palace. 2019 I saw Everyone's Talking About Jamie, Waitress and Hamilton again. 2020 I managed to get 2 shows in, believe it or not. We had Les Mis and Dear Evan Hansen. 2020 was actually the first time I'd seen Les Mis in person, and that was with Carrie Hope Fletcher as Fantine. I'm sure that was the first thing that sort of tempted me to book tickets to it. 2021 I only saw 1 show, which is understandable because I'm pretty sure we were in and out of lockdowns the whole time, and that was Come From Away. 2022 I saw Bonnie and Clyde at the Arts and Cinderella, that is the Andrew Lloyd Webber Cinderella at the Gillian Lynn, which I liked. I'll talk about it a bit more later. 2023 is where we start to pick up, so I saw Moulin Rouge on the day of the King's coronation, The Mousetrap, Rebecca at the Charing Cross Theatre and Next to Normal at the Donmar. 2024 I then saw Next to Normal, Starlight Express twice. Starlight Express yeah, 2024 the sum total of my ticket buying was Next to Normal, 2 Starlight Express tickets and Next to Normal again. And then 2025 is where things really kicked off. This was when I started living in Hampshire, where I live now, so I'm only an hour on the train from London. And yeah, 2025 I saw Hadestown, Benjamin Button, The Lightning Thief, The Great Gatsby, Evita, November in Moomin Valley and Ride the Cyclone. And then this year I've seen Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry twice, and the BFG at Chichester Festival Theatre, and that is it so far. I have another trip coming up. I've got Waitress coming up in Cardiff, I've got Beetlejuice and Ride the Cyclone coming up in August, got Death Note the musical coming up, and I also have Love Never Dies in concert, which I'm very, very excited about. So that sort of sums up my West End viewing. I do go to a lot of regional productions as well, and always have, because I grew up really close to the Wales Millennium Centre, which is a big touring venue, if you don't know. It's sort of like South Wales' biggest theatre. So basically, if there was ever a big tour going on that I was interested in, I'd go back there. And it is still my favourite touring venue, so I know that around me there's like Portsmouth's got a venue, Southampton's got a venue. Generally I do travel back to South Wales to go to the Millennium because I know the theatre and I don't think there's a bad seat in it. There's always, sort of no matter where you book a ticket, you're going to end up with a really good view of what's going on, and the sound is always fantastic as well, so it just makes sense to go there. In the next part of this video, I just want to go through some of my favourite shows from the last couple of years, because I've managed to find some programmes and I've got them sort of stacked up in front of me. This isn't going to be an exhaustive list, but this is my sort of, if I think about what are my favourite shows that I've seen recently, these are them. So I'm going to start off with one that I already sort of alluded to. I say alluded to, I've already said I really enjoyed. And that is Cinderella, that was at the Gillian Lynn. I did actually stage door for this. I so rarely stage door just because I feel very, very awkward, and I'm so aware that the actors have very little time. Like, we went to a matinee of this as well, so I was so aware of how little time Carrie would have had between shows, but she was lovely, she always is. But yeah, I've got my programme signed. I really enjoyed this show. I know it had a bit of a bad rap. I know it's probably, when you think about it too much, the story's not great, it doesn't really hold up, but the music is brilliant, the songs are good, the people they had playing the characters were phenomenal. So, weird way of saying that. The people they had in the cast were phenomenal as well. and I know it had a lot of negative press around the end of it, and then obviously its Broadway run was a bit weird because they changed the name of it and it just got a really sort of bad reception over there and didn't last long. But I really enjoyed it, and I mean, it's 4 years ago today as I'm filming this. It's the 28th today. 4 or 5 years ago, my Facebook told me earlier from Facebook Memories that I saw it, so it's sort of like the anniversary of me seeing it, and I just really enjoyed that show. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun show, as long as you didn't sort of take it too seriously. The next show that I have that is like my number one, if people say what's your favourite show, I say this one. It's not even necessarily because of the production value of it, it's because of the cast that I saw, the music, the strength of the material, and the source material, and that is Rebecca the Musical at the Charing Cross. This was a bit of a flash in the pan one because it had a really, really short run at the Charing Cross, and if you don't know the Charing Cross, it's a very, very small off West End theatre under Charing Cross Station in one of the old railway tunnels. So it's a bit of a weird one. It wasn't like massive opulent set design. It was very, very low key, but it had, I think it was like an 18-piece orchestra or something, and the cast are amazing, and Rebecca is my favourite book of all time. I absolutely adore the book, and the musical gives that sort of gothic vibe that you would want from anything sort of Rebecca adjacent. And there's such an interesting story behind this musical as well. Way too much for me to go into here. There's a channel called Wait in the Wings, which I'm sure if you're watching this and you're into the theatre and YouTube, you've probably seen. But they did a documentary about Rebecca the Musical, about the first time they tried to mount it. And it is absolutely fascinating. And I'd watched that and then saw this was coming to London, so I was very, very excited. But I think this show really, really deserves a full produced West End run, because it could be like a Phantom of the Opera. Like, I think there's enough recognition of the name and the story for people to be so interested in it, especially because it's a British story. It's written by Daphne du Maurier and it's based in Cornwall, and it is just like the vibes is very gothic. I think there's been a bit of a gothic resurgence at the moment. So I just think it would do really well. It also makes me really sad that there isn't a British cast recording of it, or like there's not a cast recording in English. There is a cast recording in German, which I do listen to because the music is so amazing. And I did also try and learn German purely for the point of being able to listen to that and kind of understand it. Spoiler alert, I can't speak German and I still can't really understand it. But it's a bit like listening to opera in the fact that you don't understand what they're saying, but you kind of get the gist of the story. If you haven't seen anything from it yet, they did do a couple of songs they sort of recorded. I think What's on Stage did them. They're on YouTube. I would recommend going to listen to them because they are incredible. Hopefully it gets produced and hopefully we see it again, because it would be such a shame for this show to sort of disappear, because it was just so good. I think it sold, like the run sold really well, so that's one that I would really like to see back. The next one I'm not going to talk too much on because I've done a series of full videos on it now, but obviously my favourite show of the last couple of years is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which I saw at Chichester and then twice at the Theatre Royal Haymarket. This show is just brilliant. It needs to go on tour. I don't know anything, but I think there could possibly be a cast recording coming. I would be highly surprised if there wasn't, because it was nominated for Best New Musical at the Olivier's. Did it win Best New Musical? I don't think it won, but it was nominated. Again, it's one of those ones where the music is so good it would be a shame if we didn't have a recording of it. So, Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. Also, if that goes on tour, and that is prime for a tour, because it could do a tour going actually on the route that Harold takes to Berwick-upon-Tweed, I think that would be fantastic, and it will be a great bit of marketing as well. But if it does do that, you need to go and see it. Don't even ask questions, just book tickets. Similar, but not quite, Curious Case of Benjamin Button was, I think, the first show I saw last year, and again, I just love it. I love a folk musical. This is another one set in Cornwall. Maybe it's just Cornish musicals I like, but it was just a really great reimagining of the story, because I do struggle with the concept of The Unlikely Case of Benjamin Button. No. Mixed up two shows there. I do struggle with the concept of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, just because, for those of you who don't know, it's about a person who's born as an old man and then throughout his life he gets younger. It's nuts. I don't know how that poor woman managed to give birth to a fully grown man, but this version of the story makes it so charming that you kind of don't care. Again, I would love to see this come back. I do love the way the West End is at the moment, in the fact that we're getting a lot of limited runs on different shows. So I've had the chance to see so many different shows, but there are some I really wish would come back. This is one of them. Sticking with the F. Scott Fitzgerald theme, gotta give a shout out to The Great Gatsby. Saw this last year. It was kind of one of the shows of the summer in the West End, and there's something about seeing a big musical with big costumes and a big cast and a big set in the age of very stripped back sets and very stripped back costumes. They've got the time and the place, but this needed big and over the top, and it delivered perfectly. And it was just such a good evening at the theatre. It was so like, it's what you expect from a night at the theatre. If you are a massive fan of the book, I've spoken to people like this, if you are a massive fan of the book, you probably won't enjoy the musical. I have read the book, but it's not like life-altering. It wasn't my favourite book of all time. I thought the book was good, but I could sort of look past some of the changes that were made, and I know that some of the changes that were made to some people feel like a bit of a betrayal of the source material. So to me, it was great. I really enjoyed it, but I also 100% understand if there are people out there who are not super happy with the way that the show was made, if that makes sense. I'm filming this sat on the floor because it feels cooler down here for some reason. I think it's because heat rises, but it feels cooler down here. But my feet have gone completely numb. So I will wrap this up relatively quickly, but I've got one more show that I want to talk about. Talking about shows of the summer from last year, couldn't not put this one in. Evita was phenomenal, and we are finally getting the full cast recording this year. So they did the highlights album last year, but we are finally getting the full album that has the whole show on it. I'm assuming Sunset Boulevard style, which I'm thrilled about, because there are so many bits of this show that aren't in the cast recording that I remember being just blown away by, and I think they're all going to be included, so can't wait to hear that again. Also, this musical ticks a lot of boxes for me because it's got a bit of history in it, because obviously based on a real person, and the music is just... I've heard the music from Evita before. I've also seen it done amateur. It wasn't... it doesn't lend itself to Amdram, this show, but I've heard the music before, and it never really struck me as like, this is going to be my one of my favourite shows sort of stuff. After seeing it live, it is absolutely one of my favourite shows. I don't know whether it was the cast I saw, because they were just, I think, born to do this show, but it was like the way it was done. And I know I've just praised Gatsby for its massive sets and costumes and all that jazz, but Evita worked so well in that sort of what's, I mean, it is the Jamie Lloyd style because it was a Jamie Lloyd production, but it does work so well. Just before I finish, I have thought about another two shows that I've got booked this year, which I didn't mention because one of them I've only recently booked and the other one isn't West End based. So this summer I am going to the RSC in Stratford to see the new Game of Thrones play. Can't remember what it's called for the life of me. I've just been calling it the Game of Thrones show. I'm really excited to see that because a couple of years ago I went to see A Midsummer Night's Dream when Matthew Bainton was in it. I think Ghosts has only just finished at the time as well, so I was like very much back in my like nostalgic for horrible histories phase, and Ghosts is just a great sitcom anyway, and he's a good actor, and I'd never seen anything at the RSC, and I thought this is a good way in. So I've seen Shakespeare done there. I'm really intrigued to see non-Shakespeare done there. So got that, and I was also a big Game of Thrones fan when that was coming out. I haven't read the books, but I was a huge fan of the series. And I've also booked Jesus Christ Superstar. Now, my journey to getting these tickets has been stressful because I had pre-sale set up because I went to see Evita last year and it's starting at the Palladium. They said, do you want to sign up for pre-sale? And I said yes. And then I didn't book tickets. And then the Big Night of the Musicals happened and I thought maybe I will book tickets, and it basically had sold out. So I was like, right, well, I was never meant to see it then because I can't afford these £200 tickets and no one's going to want to come with me. And then a couple of weeks ago I got an email out of the blue saying they were extending, but at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. So I thought, oh, well, I'll have a look because they're probably still going to be on that ridiculous inflated ticket scale, and they weren't. They were back to the original price bands. So I managed to pick up a ticket and I'm going with my nan. We're actually going on my birthday, so I'm doing a birthday theatre trip this year to see Jesus Christ Superstar, which is not a show I've seen before, but I'm really, really excited about it because it just looks like such a different approach to this show. Sorry, I had to wait for the traffic to pass. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it, and I'm so glad that I managed to get those tickets. It was almost like I wasn't supposed to get them the first time round, because now I can do a theatre birthday trip, which I'm buzzing about. I've never been to the theatre on my birthday. I also never used to be a book your birthday off kind of person, like off work, but I booked it off last year and I'm actually having 2 days off for it this year. So yeah, this is your sign to go and like actually use your holidays, because I've realised I don't. So I'm just using it for fun things now. Just before we stop, there is one more thing that I want to show you in this book, and again, it's not completely up to date, but I love like setting myself a little challenge. So my challenge at the moment has been, I want to see a show in every West End theatre. Now this isn't completely up to date because I haven't marked off the Theatre Royal Haymarket, but the ones in purple are the ones that I've been to. I don't know if you can actually see that. Can you? There we go. Yeah, the ones in purple are the ones I've been to. The ones that haven't been highlighted are ones I haven't been to. And I'm fully aware this is a project that is going to take me years, partially because there are long-running shows in some of those theatres that I have absolutely no interest in ever going to see. So I know things like the Lyceum have The Lion King in, and one day I may just have to bite the bullet and go and see The Lion King, but I am really not interested in seeing it. Similar sort of story with Mamma Mia. I'm gonna go on record and say it is my least favourite musical of all time for absolutely no reason other than the fact I just don't like it. And I've spoken to people about this. People think it's shocking that I don't like Mamma Mia, but I truly just do not like the show. No disrespect to anyone who does, it's just not my thing. I like ABBA songs independently most of the time, but I don't know what it is about Mamma Mia. It's just not something that I will ever spend my money going to see. So those two theatres specifically are probably going to remain unhighlighted in this for a good while yet. But that is the overall sort of goal. I've got a couple of new ones going on there this year. So I've never been to the Drury Lane before. I've never been to the Prince Edward where Beetlejuice is, and I've never been to the Barbican, which isn't technically West End, but it's a London theatre, so I'm kind of counting it on there. I have been to like the Southwark Playhouse Elephant last year to see Ride the Cyclone, and I'm going again this year, and I have counted that on there even though it's not strictly a West End house. But yeah, there's sort of no real rhyme or reason to it, but I want to go to all the big theatres. I'm going to leave this video here for today. It's been a bit of a rambly one. It's been a bit just chatty because, like I said, I'm really busy over the next couple of weekends, so I wanted to make sure there was something to go up. Don't know what day it's going to be going up because I am filming this on a Thursday. I am definitely not going to edit it tonight. If you have liked this video, if you've managed to get to the end of this video, first of all, well done. If you've liked this video, please do give it a like. Let me know if there is anything else you'd like me to talk about. I have had a suggestion to talk about a specific theatre, which I do want to do, but it's about the Globe. I've only been to the Globe once, so I kind of want to wait until I've been to see something there. That is on my sort of to-do list this year, is go and see a Shakespeare play at the Globe. But yeah, if you have any other suggestions at all, leave them in the comments and I will have a look at them, and I will probably make a video about what you're talking about at some point. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's a couple of you here now, which is quite nice. So if you have enjoyed this video and you want to hear more, do subscribe. If you are looking for more theatre related content, I've talked about various different shows in the past. I've done a theatre tag, I've probably done a video relatively similar to this, but sort of way back when, before I was particularly comfortable talking on camera, so it probably is very, very different to this. If you're looking for more sort of lifestyle-y, vloggy stuff, I will definitely be doing more of that because I enjoy doing it and it seems to do well as well, so I think you like it too. I can't believe I just yapped for a whole 35 minutes and the only thing I haven't been able to do so far is sign off this video. So yes, like I said, like, comment, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next week, or maybe sooner, but definitely next week sometime with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye. That was awful.